All right, here we go. Now I'm going to address two things before I start getting into this review. The first thing, yes, I am wearing a different jacket in the video than I am in the thumbnail, and that's because my other jacket is way too hot for me to be wearing in this recording, but I still wanted to wear a jacket, so this one works. Second, today was a long day with a lot of irritations, but Ghostbusters Afterlife was not one of those irritations. I am not a fan of Ghostbusters. Now, let me rephrase that. I never watched the original Ghostbusters. The only one that I saw was the remake sequel with Melissa McCarthy that came out in like 2016, and I remember absolutely nothing from that movie except that Melissa McCarthy was in it and Chris Hemsworth was in it, and that's about it. That's all I remember from it. But that aside, that didn't stop me from enjoying Ghostbusters Afterlife. I don't have the same level of nostalgia as someone who probably grew up watching the first two movies, but nevertheless, this movie was very entertaining. I had a good time. All the characters, although not all are likable, are not well, I wouldn't say well written, because some of them do have missing character traits, but they are well developed enough that they each have distinct personalities that you can latch on to, even the most underdeveloped ones. Uh, it's got a few, not a few, it's got a couple, big name actors that you might recognize, like Paul Rudd and Finn Wolf, whatever the Nightingale, whatever the hell the last half of his last name is. From Stranger Things and like Ant Man, and then Paul Rudd from Ant Man Friends, so on and so forth. Uh, but getting into the movie itself, Ghostbusters Afterlife is a direct sequel to the Ghostbusters franchise, except the one with Melissa McCarthy. They kind of don't really mention that one. It's kind of just like swept under the rug as if they're like, yeah, we don't talk about that one. People didn't really like it, so we're not gonna talk about that one. Okay, all right. You look me in the eye. It didn't happen. Okay, all right. There's only the first two, and now there's this one. All right, the one in 2016. I don't know what you're talking about. There's no such thing. It was a fan film, if anything. So, yeah, they don't really address it, at least not that I noticed. It's kind of just swept under the rug. It didn't really happen. But Ghostbusters Afterlife, really good. Very much enjoyed it. I have a feeling that if you are a Ghostbusters fan, you will enjoy this movie. I, although I didn't, hit the nostalgia with all the references, I do love comic books, and I watched a ton of comic book movies, so I can tell when a shot in a movie is specifically designed for a reference, like it's held a little bit longer when it's passing by something, or a dramatic thing happens. I'm not gonna spoil what it is, but character says something in the movie and it's super dramatic and it's focused on this one line. And granted, I do recognize the line from Ghostbusters. I knew a couple things about the Ghostbusters movies, although I haven't seen them. So I was like, oh, okay. So that's the line, but also it's really funny that you made it so dramatic that he said this one line because it's a huge reference. It's just like you're supposed to be sitting in the audience like, he said the thing. He said the thing. But outside of cheesy stuff like that, it was a fun movie. Surprisingly enough, I wish I would have looked up their names before starting this recording, but oh well. I'm sorry. The actors who played the characters, podcast. Yes, that is the name of the character's name. I am not making a joke right now. It is in the movie. You can look it up. The character's name is Podcast, and Phoebe. They're two of the main protagonists of the movie. I really love them both. They are actually really good child actors. I never felt like their line delivery was bad. They had me laughing a few times, especially Phoebe, because I can relate to her because she makes a ton of puns, and I do that a lot if you ask my friends, and they kind of hate me for it, but hey, it is what it is, am I right? mm. But yes, Phoebe, the child actor who played Phoebe, she was great. She was probably my favorite part of the movie. I really did enjoy her performance. She carried the film pretty well, given that she has a lot of weight on her shoulders since she is kind of the central and main protagonist out of the whole cast, which you would have probably expected it to be Finn's character because he's a little bit older. He's been the lead on Stranger Things. People know he's good, but I kind of like the fact that he isn't the main protagonist. He's kind of a side character that comes along for the ride. I did appreciate that they trusted this little girl enough to lay the whole movie on her shoulders, because if she was a terrible actress, this movie would not have worked at all, because it is solely hell bent on you being able to connect and like this character. Well, maybe not like, you might find her personality not to your taste or liking. However, if she was terrible, if she gave dry line deliveries and she just couldn't get emotion across, this movie would have flopped. It's a fun watch. The effects, oh my god, the effects are so good. Every ghost in the movie is distinct. There was one point, I'm not even sure if it was practical effect or if it was, really well 3D. I couldn't tell the difference. So that is great. The effects they did on this movie, fantastic. Great. I love the tributes to the past actors and everything that obviously aren't alive now to work on the movie anymore. I believe it was I don't remember his name, the character who played Aegon um, Aegon Spengler in the original Ghostbusters. He passed away about 7 years ago now, and because of that, they have a nice little tribute, like for Harold. I'm like, oh, okay, that was really sweet that they gave a tribute, like most movies do. It's always sweet when movies respect their cast enough to leave a little tribute for them, in the movie. It's nice. It's sweet. I enjoyed it. Yeah. It, man, back to the effects though. Holy crap. I really love the effects in this movie. They look really good. Like a lot of not all of the ghosts look the same. Like a lot of the ghosts, like almost every ghost in the movie has its own effect to it to make it look different from the last one. The Munchers, the Marshmallows, the other ghosts that show up in the movie, each of them looked distinct from one another, except for the ones that were like copies of each other that were supposed to look the same, obviously, but each one of them was distinct. I like the vibe of the town. Uh, One thing I will say that I didn't really like is that when I initially saw the very first teaser trailer for Ghostbusters Afterlife, it was a very serious and melodramatic trailer. It gave me the wrong feel for the movie. I did watch the following trailers that came out, and so I went into this movie expecting the proper vibe, but that first trailer sold me on the movie as being like this heartfelt drama, which, don't get me wrong, this movie is heartfelt. It does have drama in it. However, I was expecting a more dramatic tone from the first movie, which is something that I've noticed happens sometimes with movie trailers. Like, for example, a few years back, I'm going to go on a tangent really quick. The series Chilling Adventures of Sabrina that was on Netflix. The first trailer that came out for that show marketed the show as this really dark and grim horror series. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, this is unsettling. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this because I'm a scaredy cat and I get startled very easily. I do not like horror films very much, so I try to avoid them. So when I saw that, I was like, oh man, but like at the same time, this is going to scare the hell out of me, but I want to watch it. And then like when the show came out, it was not scary, so I was just like, hold on a second, let me hold on. Maybe let me just uh, maybe I'm just I can't see right, I gotta rub my eyes out, wash up a little bit. No, okay, all right, I guess I'm just tripping here, I was wrong. This isn't a horror series. It has dark themes in it, but it's not horror. Yeah, it is what it is. It's something I've noticed with these two trailers. I hope it's not something that persists in the future where they mismarket things. I know it happens more often than not, but personally, I would appreciate it if they didn't do that because I don't like when movies mismarket themselves. But it didn't ruin Ghostbusters Afterlife for me. I very much enjoyed it. Going in blind, not knowing anything about Ghostbusters except for their catchphrase and the theme song and a couple of their gadgets. That's about it. I didn't know any of the plot points of the original Ghostbusters. Let's see, what did I know about the original Ghostbusters going into this movie? there was a giant marshmallow ghost. Uh, they use a weird laser thing to latch on to Ghostbusters. They have traps. They have a car that has the Ghostbusters logo on it that's iconic. They wear jumpsuits. Took place in '84 was the first one. That's it. I think that's it. Oh, and the theme song and their catchphrase. Obviously, those are the most iconic things. That's it. That's all I knew going into this movie. So I went in practically blind, and I had a fantastic time. Enjoyed myself. Really good time. Something I did find very funny in the movie is Paul Rudd's character is just us. He's the nostalgic audience viewer. His character is written to be the audience essentially tagging along for the adventure because, well, I guess a brief spoilers. I'll wave in front of the screen when it's done. So here I go. Spoilers. Paul Rudd's character is a Ghostbusters fan. Like canonically in the universe, he is a Ghostbusters fan, and he knows everything about the Ghostbusters pretty much. So he's kind of a surrogate for the audience to experience the movie through, since he is a fan of the Ghostbusters. Like most of the people probably going to see Ghostbusters Afterlife. And hi, welcome back. Spoilers over. So closing regards for Ghostbusters Afterlife, fun time. Unfortunately, they did set it up for a sequel. I don't think this movie really needs a sequel. It's very tight knit. It wraps up everything. Now, I'm not saying the sequel will be bad. I just feel like they're going to need to justify why there is a sequel if a sequel releases. So hopefully they don't drop the bag, because I feel this movie is going to probably do well. I mean, it's an iconic title, so it's going to make money off of people just going to see it for the name alone. And the fact that it's actually a good movie, I would be surprised if it flops. So when Ghostbusters Afterlife 2 or Ghostbusters insert whatever subtitle they're going to add there, or even just Ghostbusters 4 or 5, whatever they decide to title it, if they, acknowledge the 2016 one, I'll go see it, and I hope I enjoyed it as much as I did this first one. And yeah, I think that will wrap up this review. A number score, if I had to give Ghostbusters Afterlife a number score, I guess I give it a 4. Yeah, that sounds about right. I give it a 4 out of 5. The reason I wouldn't give it a 5 is because, like I did say earlier, some of the characters are just straightforward. They don't really have much depth to the character. Like a couple of them, you learn absolutely nothing about their past or background. They are just, hey, this is this character and this is their personality. And it's like, oh, okay, that's it. They don't really have any like stake in the plot. They're just kind of around. All right, fine. It's whatever. It's Ghostbusters Afterlife. I'm meant to just go in and have a good time, not meant to walk out of the movie like, oh my god, it was the most moving thing I've ever seen. I'm into no. You're supposed to have a good time. You're supposed to leave with a smile on your face. So I did. That's what happened with me. So I had a good time. That's about it. Yep. Like I said, that's about it. Those are my closing remarks. And remember, folks, you are innocent until proven villainous, and I will catch you in the next one.